What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about The Last of Us Part 2. And I want to talk about if we're going to get a PS5 release for this game. So this is something I've talked about before, and I like to say this not as like a gloating, because actually, as of right now, I've been proven wrong, but so that if I'm ever proven right, you guys will know. Back when The Last of Us Part 2 came out last June, I think I was one of the first people to jump on this. I really had declared that I do think there's going to be a PS5 version for The Last of Us Part 2, and also Ghost of Tsushima. Now, I thought they could work it into the PS5 launch. I thought that with The Last of Us, it could maybe be bundled in with the factions, how they can make like a big deal out of both of them. And with Ghost of Tsushima, I even did come up with the idea of a multiplayer or a DLC or something like that, and to bundle those. And now, ironically, Ghost of Tsushima did have Legends, right? So they kind of did it, but they didn't have a PS5 version either. So we're going to talk about The Last of Us Part 2 in this video. I know it's a divisive game. I really think, though, this topic has nothing to do with whether or not you liked or hated the game. It just matters, do we think that's going to get a PS5 treatment? As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. I do like 3 or 4 videos every single day, so there's always plenty of content to distract from the horrible, horrible world that is the world, okay? And also, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I know Twitter is also a toxic and horrible place. Not my community. My community is very, very awesome. So Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Would love to have you guys over there. You can the link for it's actually in the description below. All right, now before I get too far into it, I should clarify what I mean. I don't mean, because obviously The Last of Us Part 2 can be played backwards compatible. You can play it right now. It's got actually adaptive trigger like features in it, right? It uses the DualSense, which I haven't used it yet. I haven't gone back into it, but boy, I want to, because any game that uses anything on the DualSense controller, I'm a sucker for. I'm immediately in for it, okay? Now, like Ghost of Tsushima, same thing. You can play it on PS5. It's at like 60 frames per second. It runs at like a higher resolution, all that stuff, and it works really well, okay? The next gen console, the PS5, definitely helps both these games, but you're just playing them backwards compatible. You are not playing a free PS5 upgrade like you could get with Miles, like we are getting with Cyberpunk someday, like we are getting with Avengers someday. And we don't have many examples of it, honestly, but we do. I mean, there are definitely games we can come up with. If you buy it on PS4, right, you get the free upgrade for the PS5. That's what I'm talking about, which you could argue, I guess, like to counteract what I'm talking about, you could argue like, well, if the game already runs, it does run better and it does play better on PS5 just by doing backwards compatible and like the update. Because remember, a bunch of Sony studios did updates to Ghost of Tsushima. They did to The Last of Us. They did it to God of War. They've done it to actually, I think they did Days Gone, right? Days Gone, everybody's talking about how much of an amazing kind of next level experience it is on the PS5. So that alone is actually like kind of big. You know what I mean? Like, they don't really, do they have to do a PS5 version? I think for a game like, obviously any of the games I just mentioned, most of them, you could say, okay, well, they're probably out just because they're a little bit older. They're maybe working on the next game, right? Whatever the circumstances may be. Ghost of Tsushima, I still think, just because of how successful it was, just because of all that stuff, I feel like a PS5 version makes sense. If you wanted to do like a Game of the Year edition, right, to it, I think that makes sense to do. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can pull that off, all right? The Last of Us Part 2, I do think is, even talking about Ghost, I do think The Last of Us Part 2 is the most likely to get a PS5 version. And why? Well, number one, I think it's sold more. I'm pretty sure that's proven. Now, again, like, does that mean in terms of like, is it better than Ghost? No, I'm not even talking about that. And for what it's worth, by the way, I do think Ghost of Tsushima is overall, like, I enjoyed the game more, okay? I did love parts of Last of Us Part 2, but I enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima more. But the point is, Last of Us Part 2 sold really well. All the accolades, all the awards, right, that it won at the Game of the Year awards, again, whether or not you care about that or not, the game's a big deal, okay? It's just flat out what it is, right? So it's a really big deal. And again, you could think of, well, there's one other thing, and then there's obviously the multiplayer, which I'm kind of saving for last. The one other thing is the same thing with Ghost of Tsushima, is like a 1-year anniversary, or again, like a Game of the Year edition, right? Now, again, The Last of Us doesn't have any DLC, it doesn't have any cut content, doesn't even have any like cosmetics and stuff like that. So it would be, I think, rather difficult to even even do a Game of the Year edition, because normally when you do a Game of the Year edition, you include stuff, beyond just the base game, okay? And they don't really have that to do it right now, but they could. They could get it over time. Ghost of Tsushima, again, like, does Legends, like, how do you view Legends? Well, Legends is technically part of the base game. You don't need to pay. It's free. It's included. So that's kind of hard, too, to say, that's a Game of the Year edition. But the final thing, again, which gives Last of Us Part 2, I think, the biggest, advantage is the multiplayer. So we still don't know about factions. Now, I want to make a video specifically on factions. If you guys want to see that, make sure you let me know. I think I'll probably do it anyway if you guys want it, or if you don't want it. But I think the factions obviously is coming, right? It's probably coming in 2021. And if they wanted... Now, factions is tough because it's like Legends, where it's like, do you have us pay for it? And I've actually had that when Last of Us Part 2 came out. I made videos on it where I said, what's going on with it? When will we get it? Do we have to pay for it? Because it's tough. It's like I could see them telling you have to pay for it, and I don't think that'll go over very well. But I could see it. I could also see them saying, no, it's a free thing, because it'll boost. There's no way it won't. It'll boost sales of The Last of Us Part 2. People will buy The Last of Us Part 2 just to play the online. And when you have the online, you'll have the online store, which they've had before, where you could buy, with your own money. You could purchase cosmetics. They will make money through that as well. So they will make money. I don't know if they need it to be like you have to pay for it, but if they tried to do some sort of marketing thing where they said, okay, Factions is coming. It's coming in May or June. Oh, and by the way, we're going to use this time to do a Game of the Year edition or a PS5. Yeah, again, like, the point is a PS5 free upgrade. And I guess maybe I'm talking myself too convoluted, because if you look at it with, like, Avengers, when Avengers gets the free PS5 upgrade, actually when any game gets the free PS5 upgrade, so far, they're not getting anything special with it. They're getting the upgrade. It runs better. It's got all these, new kind of things that the new console helps it with, but that's it. We're not really talking about like a Game of the Year edition, right, where they give you a bunch of more stuff. So again, you look at Cyberpunk, you look at Marvel's Avengers, and you look at other Call of Duty's done it, Miles has done it, lots of other games have done it. You play them, and that's it. You kind of ease. Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, you just transition to the next version. I don't even think it would be all that difficult. So truly, I do think it makes sense. I do think that 2021 is the year. It kind of sucks because again, I predicted this in 2020. I wanted this to come true, so I could say that Alex was. I have been right with things in the past, and I like to be right because it kind of increases my credibility to some people. I don't really know how many people put stock in what I say, but no, I really do think it's going to happen. I thought it could have happened around the PS5 launch to kind of say, hey, remember that amazing, to some, remember that amazing game that came out back in June? Well, now you can play it on the PS5. It will get people to upgrade. It'll get people maybe to buy the game, because you have to imagine that too. It's not the biggest group in the world. In fact, it's probably pretty small, but there are people that didn't buy these games specifically because they're waiting for either to get a next-gen console or to get the next-gen version of the game. I mean, even when I made the Miles Morales videos, people told me like, hey, I'm not getting it until I get a PS5. Like, I'm not even going to get the PS4 version and upgrade. I'm flat out not buying it until I get the PS5. Again, I don't think there's that many, but I do think those people exist. And, a couple tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that maybe thought that think, The Last of Us comes out. I know the PS5's coming out in a few months. I'll just wait till I get the system. I'll just wait maybe until there's a PS5 version of the game. And so you will make money from that. You know what I mean? It's not the biggest deal in the world to give it to us, and then they will definitely profit from it. So let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? Do you think The Last of Us Part 2 could release in 2021, again, on the PS5? Do you think they'll bundle it with the factions? Do you think they'll have something to do with it? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. Again, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, PodcastNow15 is my Twitter handle. Would love to have you guys over there as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.